You join the Scarlet auction to get money. I'm offering you more money than what you're going to bring from the Scarlet auction, and you are telling me no. And she's just like, well, I don't have as much information as you think I have. It's I don't think it would be right. So of course now he's trying to drill her because he's like, that just doesn't make sense. So then he's like, okay, well, did you meet with your friend Sam? And she's like, no. So he's like, so you mean to tell me the person that you have to check on every single day, have to check in with every day, when you get to the city, you don't have lunch with him or you don't see him? And so all of a sudden he asks, she's flushed. She can't come up with answers quick enough. So she's like, I need some water. And so he knew, of course, she's lying. And in his mind, liars get punished. So Ben picked her up, put her over his shoulder, took her to the playroom. So he ties her up, starts kissing her. And then, of course, she's moaning. And then when he pulled back, she immediately asked if he had heard from his cousin about Claire. Because she's trying to switch it up. I'm like, girl, you're in the sex playroom. You're not switching or changing the mood. Like, you should have came up with some better answers when he was talking to you. So he said no. And she was like, well, can you check again? So he said, I will. He said, but when I'm done with you, that's when I'll do it. So then he whispers in her ear like that, he wants her to, he's like, tell me to fuck you hard. And she's like, what if I don't want to say it? And he was like, well, then you keep the chastity belt on. She was like, well, what good does that do for you to, for me to say that? She's like, you don't have access to my, you don't have access to my pussy. So like, he's like, but I have access to your arse, which is ass. And so he was like, you told the Scarlet auction that you liked anal. So she was like, well, it's been a long time. And I read the question wrong. So he know this girl is just lying her ass off. So then he kisses her again and he comes on her breast. So when Ben leaves the room, she started watching the screen and it was showing women that were tied up. A man was using a dildo attached to a stick. He's plunged it into her and then another man's fucking her. So then the screen switched to, I'm going to say this so wrong, but I'm going to insert like a picture here of this person's work. But it's Nagisa Oshima's, and it's called In the Realm of Senses. And as she was looking at that, she just got all worked up. So when Ben comes back in the room, she tells him she wants him to fuck her hard. And he keeps making her say it like over and over again. And then he starts kissing her and he fingers her and makes her lick her juices off of his fingers. And then he demands she tell him what else she knows about Dawson and Chain's relationship. So while he was in the other room, he had received more information from Steven that Sam was the person she met with at the coffee shop. So now he's going to torture the answers out of her. I'm like, shit. So he first started with the flogging her. I mean, everywhere. He was her ass, breast, legs. Poor girl. I was like, shit. And so then he stuck an egg inside her and told her the only way for it to stop was for her to tell him the information he wanted to know. And so that was now her safe word. It wasn't mercy anymore. I want the information. And so she wouldn't budge. So he even took a wand, the magic wand, and he put it on her clit. And then once she was about to come, he would pull it away and demand she tell him. He kept telling her, I know you want to come. Just give me the information I want. So Kamari starts begging him to fuck her, like begging. And finally, like because he loves to hear her say it. And he was so worked up. So he's like, fuck it. He gave in. And he fucked her. So then she let him know that she can't tell him any more information, as it was told to her in confidence, and she can't portray that. And I'm just like, you could have said that before. Like, he's not mad at that answer because that's true. He's like, okay, that's more than likely true. And he gets that. In other words, same thing. I know if I tell you something in confidence, I don't have to worry about you trying to repeat it or trying to do stuff. Even though he can't really forget about the shit he heard when she was in the bathroom making those phone calls. Kamani still wanted to talk to Claire. So she was like, listen, I want to talk to her. So Ben called and told her, she can use the phone, but in front of me. I'm like, oh, duh, it took you that long? He's like, no more secret phone calls. So then Jake calls him and says, I want my slut back. And he was like, I'll bring her back when I'm done. And Jake was like, it's against the rules, and I'll give you some of your money back. But Ben was like, I don't want the money back. Ben was like, I'll come back when I'm ready. So he takes Kamani to like this exclusive restaurant. So she got made up, beautiful gown, beautiful heels. And they eat, they talk, and she admits that she did lie on the questionnaire. I'm like, duh, and she says it was because she wanted to be bid on, and so they eat, they talk, and then some more, and then she goes to the restroom, and when she's in the restroom, a woman asks her, like, is that Benji you're with? And she's like, yeah, but he doesn't like anyone outside the family calling him Benji. And she leaves the restroom. So when she comes back, she hears the tail end of the conversation that Ben is having on the phone. So she can deduce from that Jake wants her back. So Ben offers to pay her. He's like, listen, I'll pay you the processing fee, those $2,000 you had to pay, and whatever you would have made to stay for the remainder of the week, I will pay that to you, and you don't have to go back. So she declines, and she says, I'm not a charity case. Plus, she's like, I don't want to leave Claire behind, which pisses me off in itself. But anyway, so I'm like, it just irks me, that whole situation. Because it's like, the heifer is by herself right now, okay? You've already been gone a full day. She's by herself. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. So then dessert comes and he's like, come sit on my lap. She doesn't do it at first. So he's like, I said, come get on my lap. So she does. He feeds it to her, takes her home. Time for punishment. So he tells her that the rules are, if she stays, there is no safe word. I'm like, oh shit. That's scary, And he said, even with that, I still might take you back to Jake. So she was like, well, this isn't a good deal for me. He was like, but those are the guidelines. And I get it. He's trying to put you in a place. It's two things. How far is she willing to go? Because he knows she lying. He knows, okay? So it's like, you don't want to take the money. So I feel his thought is, I'm going to get everything I can out of you. Everything I want, I'm going to get it out of you, because it seems you're determined to get whatever information that you're trying to get. So the truth was, in our reality, she wanted to relinquish all of herself to Ben. She did. This lifestyle, yes, very different, but she's falling for Ben, and she wants to give him that complete control. It turns her on to give him that complete control. And someone like her, she's so used to being in control all the time, that this is new for her. It freaks her out because, first of all, this is a story. She wasn't supposed to fall. She wasn't even supposed to have sex with the guy. And now everything has gone like way beyond where she can kind of stop it, And so Ben could tell that, she was trying to think of a way to get out of this, or to make it more so in her favor. And so finally the girl just gave in. Like, fuck it. She conceded. She's like, I'll agree to your terms. So he tied her up. He put a tube and a monitor by her clit, and then he starts paddling her. Then he takes a rubber band, ties it around her foot, and apparently that's like really painful when they pull it, like snap it. I don't know. Never trying it. So then old girl was using the term master so much, he loved hearing that from her mouth. Like, he loved it. So he, of course, pounded into her and came. And then It was pretty hard. And so then he puts her in the large cage and puts a bowl in there for when she has to use the bathroom. I was like, oh my gosh. So he knows, we find out he knows she's a reporter. He's mad at himself because he doesn't know the full angle that she's working. He finally listened to the USB. So that was that whole scene from when he had them barking like dogs and shit and everything going on. All that's recorded. So as he was sparring with Batar, he told Batar what happened, and Batar was able to knock him down. And Batar's like, well, damn, because Batar's never been able to do that. So Batar knows too, like, yeah, you done fell for that girl. So he leaves from Batar. He goes to her. He's hard, puts his dick in between the openings and in the cage, and tells her, he's like, make me come in 5 minutes. And so she does, and it comes all in her mouth and tells her she better not waste any of it. I say, well, damn. So he decides then and there, he ain't taking her back to Jake. He's like, fuck it. So then she starts thinking about how much she doesn't want to let go of Ben. And when she tells him that she can't get enough of his cock, of course he feels like she's lying. And so he takes her out, ties her up again, suspends her in air, and then he takes a pointed zapper that sends like a shock, and it hurts. And then once she can't take it anymore, he replaces it with the magic wand, and he allows her to come. It's that whole pleasure, that pain pleasure type thing. I don't know. I'm not that. That freaks me out a little bit. Then he decides to take her in the arse, aka in the ass. And at first, she was like, I haven't done it in a while. He was like, you'll like it, I promise. So he puts on a bunch of lube on his dick, and then he slowly eases in. Remember, she's got the wand on her clit, so she came super fast with that penetration. And he wasn't even fully in. But it allowed him to, start, working himself into her. And then once he did, she came again. And he was just like, oh, my gosh, your ass is just... He said arse. But I don't think that's hot, So I'll say what he's saying. So he's like, your ass is just marvelous. So Ben gets a phone call from Jason asking, hey, when you guys coming back? And he's like, why? I don't know. And Jason's like, well, Jake was doing a exfoliate. What is it? I'm gonna say this wrong. Exfoliation. I don't think I said it right, but you know what I'm talking about. With Claire. And he did it wrong, and she passed out. And he's like, maybe you could come back and help him learn how to do it correctly. And so I'm thinking, that sounds like that's stupid. That's Jason, really? That's what you're trying to get him to come back with? So, soon as, Ben asked him, let me go back. So Ben then asked him, well, where's Claire now? Is she all right? And he's like, oh no, she's good now. They're doing, her and the other girls are doing their nails, so she's fine. So then Ben was like, we'll come back today. So when Kamani comes out of the bathroom, she can tell something's going on. She's like, what's up? What's going on? And he tells her what happened, and she, of course, is like, we got to go back. And so it's just that whole Captain Save-A-Ho shit that I just don't like. I don't know. It just bothers me. Because I don't feel like, I just don't have sympathy for people sometimes. And I'm like, she's just too focused on this girl that, to me, doesn't give a rat's ass about you. She's only there to try and land a rich guy. That is her focus. She's not trying to form any real bonds. This is what she cares about. And you're just all about, I gotta protect the girls. It just irks me. I can't stand it. It just irks me. I just don't like that whole Captain Save-A-Ho tendency from her. So, but Tara's like, I'm going with you guys this time. So while they're on the plane, Kamani goes to the bathroom. Ben follows her. Asks her, you ever been a part of the Mile High Club? She's like, no. He's like, well, you're about to. Proceeds to fuck her hard, and they both came. So then Bill pulls out the pen. Her mouth drops when they go back to their seats. And so I I thought it was funny because I could have just imagined that. So she finally comes